This is Fort Carson now.
Fort Carson, Colorado, home of the U.S. Army's 4th Infantry Division, and the focal point for a unique partnership between an Army post and its civilian neighbors.
Fort Carson is a future site of the Cheyenne shooting complex, which is a very good deal for Fort Carson and the community. It allows our soldiers and their families to have an opportunity to use their personally owned weapons and focus on gun safety in a place that's on the installation.
Familiarity with weapons and firearms is important for both the enthusiast and the soldier.
Any kind of shooting we can do, whether it's pistol, whether it's rifle, whether it's shotgun, all of it still contributes. I mean, if you're doing skeet shooting with a shotgun, it helps you track moving targets, you know, lead your target, get on. It's all about breathing, trigger squeeze. No matter what weapon we can get out and shoot, it adds to what we can do here.
Firing ranges for gun enthusiasts, whether off-duty military or civilian, are limited around the mountain post.
It's what we forced in this community is people to go out and shoot in unimproved areas, areas where there's not safety procedures in place, and it's actually causing a risk to those trying to engage in it.
Their pursuit of a safe and secure firing range has united both the soldiers and the residents.
That took us down the road of the bureaucracy of building a shooting range on a military installation through a conditional donation from an outside government agency. It ended up having to go to the Secretary of the Army for approval, which was approved last year.
The story of a unique partnership on this edition of Fort Carson Now. "5 a.m., and this unit is heading out to a military firing range. These soldiers carry out, on a large scale, the same procedures that gun enthusiasts follow at their local shooting range. Weapons and ammunition are issued in a controlled procedure.
There are no moving targets. It's only going to be a pop-up. See anything moving sideways? It's not a target. Any questions?
Fort Carson, Colorado, home of the 4th Infantry Division, is located in El Paso County, a teeming urban, suburban, and rural area. Colorado Springs, its largest city, is the gateway to some of Colorado's most beautiful mountain geography, such as the Garden of the Gods and Pikes Peak. Also lying within El Paso County are the towns of Fountain, Widefield, Security, and Manitou Springs. Numerous unincorporated areas lie in El Paso County, including portions of Pike National Forest and Cheyenne Mountain State Park. This kind of terrain is ideal training ground for members of the U.S. Army's 4th Infantry Division.
This week we're going to be doing squad live fires. We start out with a dry run, which is just running around with our weapons, yelling bang bang, so we can get the movement down, get everybody on the same page of music. Then we move on to blank fires. The idea behind that is get the talking of the weapons down, so we're all firing, supporting each other, not wasting too much ammo.
The military range has been specially prepared for firing live rounds, with its isolation and embankments built up along the perimeter.
After that, we move on to live fires. We're putting lead down range. We've got pop-up silhouettes out there. The idea is we've got our squad leader controlling each team. So each team leader takes control and maneuver around, set things up, get the advantage, whether it's by getting online and keeping fire superiority, getting a lot of momentum downrange, moving towards them, or it's setting up suppressive fire to keep the heads down while the other guys get a flanking position on them.
Smith, bring it up a little bit. Got him.
It helps your trigger squeeze, it helps your target identification. I mean, it just helps anytime you can go out and shoot bullets downrange, it helps.
Just like if you're riding a bike or roller skating or whatever it is, like you're not going to feel comfortable with it. and then eventually it becomes like a muscle memory, and your big portion of you know, not only safety but being able to engage the enemy is like when you can move and bound with your team, and like you're automatically putting your weapon on safe because it's now become ingrained in your head to be able to, you're so comfortable that you get up and you know before you get up you put the weapon on safe, before you engage the enemy you switch it back to fire. What we try to do with getting people trigger time and everything else. So I would say it's extremely important to feel comfortable with your weapon.
The concept of a shooting range on Fort Carson is not new. There was a range years ago. It was predominantly a shotgun trap and skeet range. It closed down sometime in the 1980s. In the mid-2000s, there was a kind of a determination and a small survey done that showed that there was a need on Fort Carson for a shooting range, both pistol, shotgun, rifle. And that kind of started the quest of creating a range on Fort Carson for soldiers' families to use.
At the same time, public safety personnel outside the post were facing a situation of limited resources for conducting their firearms training.
We as a county are required by state law to provide range services for our sheriff's office. That is just one of the things that we provide, and it's part of our budget every year to make sure that we have range services, that we are maintaining the existing range. And the range that the sheriff uses right now, he shares with the Colorado Springs Police Department and other agencies. This is an opportunity for us to expand those range services as necessary and as mandated, and at the same time make it available to the public. It's the first time this has ever been available. So we're fulfilling the mandate that we have as a county and making it available to the public. It's the public's resource, and so we're very excited about being able to do something as special as this.
The range at the college hosts numerous agencies in the Pikes Peak region, primarily CSPD and then my office, the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. And as what we continually run into is conflicts with demands. For instance, right now, CSPD has an academy going, we have an academy going, and those academies are priorities, so we don't have an opportunity for our employees to go down and practice or qualify or go through other exercises to sharpen their skills. And it's something that seems to be on the increase with these conflicts just because of the demands of those two agencies. But then in addition to that, you have other agencies like Fountain or Monument or Palmer Lake who want to access the range and they can't even get on it.
A meeting occurred between El Paso County and MWR. There was a need by El Paso County for a range.
What happened during this meeting? When Fort Carson Now continues.
This is Fort Carson Now.
Fort Carson is located in Colorado's El Paso County, an area of developed urban and suburban areas, thousands of acres of farm and ranch land, and tens of thousands of acres of undeveloped wilderness and forests. Despite the development and amount of open space in El Paso County, the availability of recreational firearms shooting ranges is limited to private clubs and the local community college. The result is that firearms practice by both the civilian and military populations is significantly curtailed.
Firearms enthusiasts really don't have a lot of options to engage in sport shooting or marksmanship in this community unless they belong to a private club. And with that comes limited hours and things of that nature. And I think it's a real shortfall in our community. Is what we typically see is people either shooting on their own property, which could have surrounding residential properties. And although in their mind it's safe, in the minds of those that live around them, there's a threat, and I think anytime people modify their day because of a fear, it is now a problem.
Public safety is the #1 issue, and then the law enforcement training is kind of a sub-issue to that, but should be one as well. As a soldier who grew up in Wyoming and Idaho, I understand the importance of the right to shoot your weapons. And incidentally, just a couple of weeks ago, I came back from my farm in Idaho and brought back 4 guns myself, and there's nowhere to shoot.
Going on 3 years ago, we set out, and Command Sergeant Major Dan Daly allowed us to take some land and kind of repurpose it as MWR property. And with that, we had the beginning, we had a piece of land. We still didn't have the resources to put together the range, the berms, the infrastructure to it. That took us down the road of the bureaucracy of building a shooting range on a military installation through a conditional donation from an outside government agency. It ended up having to go to the Secretary of the Army for approval, which was approved last year. We went through the process of the public hearings. I don't think there was any less than 3 different public hearings that occurred to voice the pleasure of actually Fort Carson and the El Paso County getting together and doing this and defining the need. And so we are at a phase right now where we're very, very close to actually breaking ground.
While fences and barriers separate Fort Carson from Colorado Springs and El Paso County, the relationship between the mountain post and its neighbors has a more integrated nature. Fully 70% of the soldiers live off-post, most with their spouses and families. They enroll their children in the public schools, purchase homes, participate in community affairs, and rely on the area's other services. Many of the civilians living in the area are employed on post or have retired from the military and rely on Fort Carson. Still others support the post and its troops by providing a welcoming attitude.
I think it's essential. If we don't partner with the community, the post won't survive, because many things we do here, everything from what the YMCA does for youth programs downtown, their gyms, their fitness centers, because again, 70% of our soldiers live off post. So everything from what the Y does to all the medical facilities, to all the sporting events, to all the charitable nonprofit organizations that support us and allow programs like our Gold Star Families, our Family Readiness Group, our Wounded Warriors, all those programs are now funded by the Army. So our partnership with the community and how we have events and venues for our people to go do, how we raise money to support our programs, and how we get extra help, everything from hospital care, from Aspen Point for behavioral health, all the way to physical help at many of the facilities in town, because we don't have the capacity here on the post.
There's a memorandum of agreement that basically the command group and the county commissioners agreed to through a vote, through a public hearing. And so we're getting real close. We're real excited about that.
What will the range look like and how will it be managed? All that next as Fort Carson Now continues.
This is Fort Carson Now.
There are 2 kinds of heroes. Heroes who travel thousands of miles to face the unknown, and those who stay behind to do the same. For every warrior who charges into the fight is another who fights to keep moving forward until their return. Military lives are different. At USAA, we've been there. We understand. That's why our commitment to serve military veterans and their families is without equal. USAA. For insurance, banking, investments, retirement, and advice. We know what it means to serve. Let us serve you.
10 minutes, 21 seconds from the first round, hit shot, where you just stopped right there. You have to pay attention who's to your left and right, okay? When you were moving up, the saw gunner had to shut down. He couldn't fire no more at the enemy, so his suppressive fire for you to move was lost.
Fort Carson and its neighbors in El Paso County combine resources to create a shooting range operated by the DFMWR and available to both the military and civilian communities.
Fort Carson is a future site of the Cheyenne shooting complex, which is a very good deal for Fort Carson and the community. We've done this as a partnership with the community to allow the shooting complex to be built on Fort Carson land but be accessed from outside, so the people who want to use the complex don't have to drive through the gates of Fort Carson, which allows for easy access.
In the construction and in the design of this project, it's set up as a three-phase project. Phase one is, we define it as kind of an austere shooting range. There's no utilities on this piece of property. It will be dirt, earthen berms, and it'll be 90 shooting points, 90 firing points. And from there, it'll have the infrastructure in terms of parking lots. There'll be a check-in, check-out. The safety measures will be in place. It'll just be a primitive site where you'll be able to go out and shoot. It'll be controlled. It'll be managed by MWR. Phase 2 and Phase 3 are continuations of this as the money is generated through donations and grants and other processes that the county uses. Those two phases will include a clubhouse. The plan is a 10,000 square foot clubhouse with eventually a food and beverage program and a trap and skeet range, as well as other improvements to the facility. The one being utilities is a big piece of it.
We're excited that this range will be right off of I-25 at Gate 20 at Fort Carson. And again, you don't have to go through the gate of Fort Carson to access the range. Another great thing, and a question that we get very often, is will they have to register their firearms? And the answer is no. You will not have to register those firearms, but it will be a very safe environment with a range master there. Also, this range will be open 7 days a week to the general public and to military members and their families. We are very, very excited about that.
The range will be set up and is designed to be 90 separate firing points, and it'll be broken down into 6 individual ranges, approximately 15 firing points per range. One of those ranges is dedicated to the Sheriff's Department Monday through Friday. They'll have complete access and they'll be able to go in there and do the training that they need to do. On the weekends, that particular range, if demand dictates, will be open to the public as well. The rest of the time, the other 75 lanes will be open to the public. Of those, there are 30 lanes designated for pistol. There's one range of 100 yards dedicated to multi-purpose, so you can zero a weapon, you can still shoot pistol, you can shoot shotgun, you can do a variety of different things on that range. There'll be 2 ranges that are designated for long range, high-power rifle out to 300 yards. You can check your target at 300 yards. Beyond that, we will have some gongs or report mechanisms that you can shoot out to actually 600 and 700 yards. You won't be able to go out and check your target to see where you hit, but you will actually be able to hear the report and you'll know if you hit your target out there, which is one of the only ranges in this area that's able to shoot out that far.
The funding for the range, again, will come from private dollars and restricted dollars, not general fund tax dollars. And we're very, very excited that the money made at the range for the nominal fees that will be charged for coming out to shoot will go to support the Morale, Welfare, and Recreation Office of Fort Carson. That office supports the military members and their families. So we're so excited about what this will do to help support our military members.
The opportunity that we're going to provide here on Fort Carson, granted there'll be a cost involved in that, but there's a cost involved in going up in the mountains too. Gas is almost $4 a gallon now. And again, do you put a price tag on safety, number one, and then number two, they do need to understand, like I said before, that the revenue that's generated on this installation stays on this installation. It goes right back into the Fort Carson community to enhance some of our other programs that DFMWR has here on post.
With the shooting range becoming a reality, the benefits and the beneficiaries when Fort Carson Now returns.
This is Fort Carson Now.
In El Paso County and Colorado Springs, a shooting range meant for the use of both the Army's soldiers and their families, as well as the residents of the surrounding community. All the result of a unique Army and community partnership. And what will be the benefits of this partnership?
My M4 is basically an extension of my arm. It is a part of my life, it is a part of my job, and it is something that I have to be an expert on it, and every soldier knows that they have to be an expert on their weapon.
Just like doing physical training on your own, you only become better at that when you do it on your own, and don't just do it during the PT hours. You guys will shoot better if they do it on their own, and don't just wait until we train them out here.
It's more of a controlled environment, a place that I can take my kids. I don't have to worry about wildlife. I don't have to worry about anybody that doesn't really know how to shoot, because you have your individual lanes.
To have something that's got a pretty good degree of safety, just because it's on a military post, so you've got that extra stuff backing it up. Convenience and safety, it's awesome to have it accessible, and it's even better now that we've heard that they're starting to improve things for us, make that better berms, setting up further ranges, giving us more target options out there and such like that. So really adds to the versatility for us, and it's where I work. It's right down the street, so it's convenient as heck.
All right, the firing line is ready. Table 1 consists of 1 7-round magazine. Go ahead and take your weapons from safe to fire. And watch your lane.
The more they can practice, the more time that they have to be on a range, the better they are, the better they're going to be able to defend our freedoms, and going that whole line.
And the good thing is the benefit of everything that we do on that range all the money that's raised from the range will actually come to support our soldiers and their families. So it's kind of a win-win, no-brainer for us.
Fort Carson is like a member of the El Paso County family. We have so many soldiers and their families who participate here in our community in a number of ways. Obviously, not the least of which is in the protection of our country. We consider them family. And to be able to enter into an agreement like this with Fort Carson, with the relationships that we have, and with all of the collaborative opportunities, is just a very exciting and never before seen kind of opportunity.
Growing up in the West, I love guns, and there's a lot of folks like me, and soldiers love their guns as well, and there's a need for them to shoot in a safe and secure environment. This range will provide that for them, because right now I don't think there are many alternatives. If I want to shoot my firearms, I have to go up in the woods, and who knows whether it's hikers or bikers or joggers or any backpackers, and we don't know who's out there.
MWR is going to benefit, soldiers and families are going to benefit not only from having a place to go recreational shooting, but also the revenues and the proceeds generated from the contributions from the county, constituents using the range, and Fort Carson's soldiers and families using the range. That money comes back to MWR, which is then 100% distributed back to soldiers and families through other MWR programs that we use.
We look forward to it because I know that the law enforcement in this area, we're all competing for the same resources. We fire at Pikes Peak Community College, and sometimes we cannot get the ranges that we need when we need them. And so this is going to be a tremendous opportunity to be able to do that for our law enforcement officials here at Fort Carson.
The Cheyenne Mountain Shooting Complex will support the readiness of the soldiers and the local law enforcement. As this arrangement between the Army's Directorate of Family and Morale, Welfare and Recreation and the surrounding community continues to develop, perhaps it will become a model for future Army and community partnerships. Nonetheless, the vigilant soldiers of Fort Carson steadfastly train, improving their skills, developing their professionalism, all to preserve our freedoms. This has been Fort Carson Now. Thanks for watching.
This is Fort Carson Now!